Okay, so we're live on YouTube. I'm just trying to close that folder. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Tracy.
Okay, Joe, you can go ahead. 9:02.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Asset Management Committee meeting Wednesday, September 23rd at 9:02.
Yeah,
You said,
9:02.
Tracy? I'd like to call the meeting to order. Are there any additions or amendments to the agenda? None noted. Yes, Molly?
I just wanted to provide an update regarding the legal agreement for Galerie Lake Road fiber optics. So we can just put that in unfinished business.
Okay, I've added that under number 5, unfinished business. Anything else? Nothing noted. And I have a motion to adopt the agenda as revised.
I'll motion, Joe.
It's moved by Councillor Harper, seconded by Mayor Dumas. It's the only hand I seen up. With the matters before us today, does anybody wish to disclose a pecuniary interest? There are none noted. Holly, I'm assuming that the delegations are in the waiting room. At this time, I'd like to welcome both of the delegations, and I think Mr. Ruskowski is up first.
Ollie, you're muted.
Thank you. Sorry. So I've just admitted Eric Davis, who is the lawyer acting on behalf of Mr. Rudowski. And I'm not sure, Art has seemed to have disappeared. Just one second. Oh, I can see him. Oh, he's muted. Just wait. Art, can you hear me? Can you just speak if you can hear me? So it looks from where I am that Art is in the meeting, but I'm unable to see him. So I'm not sure if anyone else can see him. No.
I can see him as well.
Do you hear me?
Oh,
Yes,
now
I
we
can hear you now.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Ruskowski, you have the floor. You can present
Yeah,
your...
thank you very much.
Holly, sorry, I'm going to stop you. Can just so Mr. Davis and Ms. Ruskowski knows that they are live on YouTube right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah. So we got 15 minutes together, and I will try to squeeze what I have to say in about like 7-8 minutes, and then Mr. Eric will take over. So if I can just present this in a form of the short presentation, and if you have any questions, maybe you can have them after Mr. Davis will finish. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about the ditch, which is as short as the parking spot, yet it is costing us and the taxpayers a lot of money. In 2013, Township constructed a new asphalt gutter, collecting lots of water from the uphill and discharge on our property. The water from the gutter is causing flooding of parts of our property, and it brought on a complete deterioration of the ditch in the front of the house. In 2016, we submitted to Township a complaint letter about drainage problems and about not reinstating the removed asphalt. In a response, the council voted in favor of improving drainage problems and installing removed asphalt. Unfortunately, the promised drainage improvement was limited to adding a few stones at the end of the gutter, which didn't help at all, and the asphalt work is still not done. The Fields house owner, Mr. Brian Norris, told us that he constructed the ditch on his property for the purpose of his private drainage. It might look like a roadside drainage ditch because it is close to the road, but this look is misleading because in fact the road was built too close to our property instead of being centered on a road allowance. There is no record of any easement on our property. The private drainage consisting of the front ditch and the driver culvert was never connected to any upstream drainage system, and it's still not connected. Water discharge from the asphalt gutter just flows downhill toward our septic field and toward the front ditch. The front ditch, being private, was not built to any road drainage standards. The increased amount of water changing it to the filthy cesspool of stagnant, contaminated road runoff water, it became an eyesore and health and safety hazard. Two main reasons for undertaking the work were getting rid of the stagnant, contaminated water present next to our water well and improving an aesthetic appearance of the hard frontage. The first reason is based on Environmental Act, which recommends a minimum distance of at least 100 feet between water well and any contamination source. Our water well is only 25 feet away from the contaminated ditch. Installing culvert would help to satisfy this requirement. The second reason is based on the fact that the ditch is deep and full of sediment. It is impossible to maintain it. There is no way to blow leaves out of it because they're embedded in the mud. The ditch sides are too steep and too rugged to have grass there. Existing hedge couldn't cope and died. Installation of the culvert would make it possible to raise the area and provide easy way to maintain flower bed. Our plan is to clean the bottom of the ditch, add gravel, and provide a proper slope and add culvert, which will facilitate faster and safer water removal. The 15-inch diameter HDPE culvert is to be placed in the existing ditch entirely on our property. No existing drainage is to be blocked. The small area of the road shoulder beside the culvert will be drained by the small swale, leading to an opening between two culverts as shown on drawings. Additional safeguard will be a 4-inch diameter whipping tile running along the culvert. We are going to cover the culvert with 12-inch deep fill as shown on a drainage and landscape plan rendering. We have decided to do drainage improvement on our property and at our cost. After a long search, we hired an insured contractor willing to do such a small job. The work started on June 9 by cleaning the bottom of the ditch to get ready to receive gravel. To our total surprise, just 2 days later, we got a stop work order issued by Mr. Gatley stating that we are damaging the existing municipal ditch and culverts. Our ditch is not a municipal ditch and we didn't touch the municipal culvert. Mr. Gatley ordered immediate dismissal of our contractor. In a follow-up discussion, Mr. Gatley said that our ditch is not ours anymore because the municipal water now flows through it. I found this statement inconceivable that the township could try to claim the part of our property without following any due process involving consultation with the property owner, consent of the property owner, and compensation. At this point, I felt that my property rights were violated and I decided to seek legal advice. During the last 3 months, 2 township lawyers provided a number of constantly changing reasons for stopping us from completing the work. After one reason has been cleared, another reason was forwarded, and here are the examples. Damaging municipal culverts. No culvert was damaged. Working on a King's Highway. No work on a road, and Maple Drive is not a King's Highway. Flooding the houses down the road. Not possible because water goes to forest. Working on a road allowance. We did not work on a road allowance. road allowance being twice the size of what is shown on a township survey. Really, township survey on Maypay Drive needs to be confirmed by the surveyor. That's very interesting. We bought the house that was under power of sale. This is very good argument. We don't have the engineer's design. We don't need it this case. We will flood our own house. And this argument is the best one. We find this argument coming from the people that flood our property for several years really strange. We are a full-time Whitney residents and we pay taxes like everybody else, yet we don't get the same treatment as others. On the same street, there are other double culverts that were installed and paid by the township. They were installed for various reasons, like better access to the garage or backyard. Our reasons are not lesser than other ones. Presently, we find ourselves in an impossible situation. The township is refusing to correct the source of drainage problems and at the same time doesn't allow us to improve the drainage and protect our property. Since stopping our work, the township is fighting us tooth and nail and didn't offer any workable solution that would address our concerns. The only positive statement came from building inspector, Mr. Mike Anderson, who during his site visit was supportive of our undertaking and even offered a suggestion to add a catch basin. We would be glad to install the catch basin as suggested. The ugly unmaintained ditch at the front of the house is lowering our property value. The township has inflicted on us many hardships and extra cost, and we have never learned why. And I thank you, council members, for this opportunity to present our case, and we hope that you can consider the merit of our concerns and hardships inflicted on us by the township. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Eric Davis can take over.
That's great. Thank you very much, Art. Good morning, members of the committee. Thank you very much for having us here today. My name is Eric Davis, and I'm a municipal and planning law lawyer with Miller Thompson in Waterloo. Just to give you a bit of my background, I've been recognized by the Law Society of Ontario as a certified specialist in municipal law in both local government and land use planning and development. I've acted and continue to act for both public and private sector clients, including a number of municipalities across southwestern Ontario. So I just want you all to understand that I can appreciate this issue from both my clients and from the township's perspective. Thank you again for giving us the opportunity to speak today, and I won't reiterate what Art has already said, but I would like to instead address a few points from a legal perspective that I think are important in order to frame the discussion here today. So firstly, I think what is important is that our clients were performing the work in question on their property, not on township property. At this point, and despite repeated correspondence between ourselves and the township's legal counsel, we have been provided with no evidence to suggest anything to the contrary. In addition, we have been provided with no evidence to suggest that the township has expropriated a portion of our client's property or that somehow the township has an easement over our client's property. If, for example, drainage works were constructed on township property, such as in the road allowance, we would agree that our clients would not be able to alter those works in any way, at least not without the township's consent, but that is not the case at present. Secondly, and just in case there is any doubt, a municipality, any municipality, cannot just construct drainage or other works on private property without any legal right to do so. If that is what is being asserted, I would encourage you all to think of what that would mean across this province, that a municipality, for example, even in an urban setting, could construct a culvert across someone's front lawn and then assert that the property owners can't touch what they had installed from then on. That is respectfully absurd. It would also make the Expropriations Act largely worthless. The only statutory authority we've been provided by the township's legal counsel is Section 91 of the Municipal Act, which relates to public utilities. That's at least the most recent statutory authority we've been provided. The term public utilities is defined in the Municipal Act to include sewage, and the term sewage includes stormwater and other drainage from land. Section 91 sub 4 of the Municipal Act does provide that no person shall interfere with a part of a public utility for which there is no easement without the consent of the municipality. However, that section, which I would suggest is more meant to address the fact that a person can't rip up telephone lines out of the ground just because there's no easement, does not give a municipality carte blanche to install public works on private property. For example, that same section in 91 sub 10 even addresses the issue of utilities located by mistake, which I think might be the case at present. Thirdly, as Art outlined, back in 2013, the township encroached on our client's property when they constructed the driveway culvert leading to the private ditch. All of that work was done on our client's property. Also in 2013, the township constructed an asphalt gutter, I'll say upstream or north of the driveway, which started to discharge large amounts of water on our client's property. As a direct result of the increased amount of water, the old private ditch completely deteriorated. As Art said, they wanted to improve the old private ditch and facilitate faster and safer water removal by installing a culvert therein. Again, completely on their property and completely at their expense. So we're here today before council because we want to work with council and the committee and the municipality to get its permission to perform the work on our client's property, which was intended to be completed months ago, in order to solve a drainage problem that respectfully our clients did not create, but were prevented from addressing by the township. But there's one point that I want to make it clear for the record, that in our view, and I say this respectfully, we do not need in my submission the council's permission to perform this work. In my view, our client has the lawful right to perform the work they were attempting to complete months ago, and that any attempt to halt those works was unlawful. But I see no reason for my clients or for the township to spend potentially tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees fighting over the issue in court if a simple council resolution this morning can resolve this rather urgent matter here and now. And finally, just to address some of the arguments that Art has raised, it's been suggested that if the work were performed by my clients in the manner they suggest, that it could exacerbate the ongoing drainage issues on their own property and cause potentially further flooding. Though we strongly dispute that contention, the obvious question is, so what? Our clients creating drainage issues for themselves is of arguably no concern to the township. It's also been suggested that if the work were performed, that our clients could cause drainage issues on neighboring properties. Again, though we would strongly dispute that assertion, if that were to occur, those other property owners would have an actionable nuisance claim against our clients. Unless the township has a property standards bylaw, for example, dealing with draining water onto neighboring properties that would apply in this case, what is being suggested would be, in our view, a private dispute between neighboring property owners, which again would not involve the township. Ultimately, our clients don't want their property to flood anymore and wanted to redirect the water. They were undertaking the work in question on property which they own and at their own cost. We would appreciate council and the committee expressly permitting our clients to complete that work, especially before the inclement weather arises and prevents that work from being done. So subject to any questions anyone may have, those are our submissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We're not in the habit of entering into debates with delegations at these committee meetings. But just to maybe help the situation, I would invite our road superintendent, Dave Gatley, to present a counter argument and possibly a solution to the whole thing before we move on. Are you prepared to do that, Dave?
I suppose. There's quite a number of issues been raised. It certainly goes back to my predecessor's time. I guess from our point of view, we look at the drainage beside a road as part of the transportation utility. So we have standard practice, which is to allow entrances, entrance widenings. If someone is doing works in the ditch that is, part of the drainage from the road, that is something that we don't have the ability to approve. Council has the ability to approve that. It needs to go to a council meeting and be presented. And that drainage would need to be designed by an engineer. So my recommendation would be that, an engineer review, a civil engineer review the design and make recommendation, or the design be reviewed by a civil engineer.
Does that seem reasonable, Mr. Davis?
Well, I guess I sort of question the need for my client to incur the cost. I mean, in our respectful view, there is a drainage issue here. I don't think that there's, at least I don't believe there's any dispute in the fact that there is a drainage issue here. My client is just planning on installing a culvert to assist in getting the water off the property, or at least, move that water elsewhere to prevent flooding on his property. I'm not sure why the services of an engineer would need to be retained for that purpose. I guess, the larger issue is that, and especially I'm concerned about timing, about being able to complete the work again before the weather becomes too problematic in order to complete the work. I've dealt with engineers on a number of different matters and files and involving a number of different public works. I just question whether what we're suggesting here is rather straightforward. I mean, I would just sort of question why the engineer would be needed, because as we outlined, what is the engineer going to say? Either the engineer is going to say that it would presumably, I'm not sure if the engineer can guarantee what would work or what wouldn't work or what have you, but I guess I'm just sort of not sure what the end result would be and how it would change the present circumstance.
I think the concern that the council has is that if the work that Mr. Ruskowski is proposing to do turned out to be detrimental, that if the township approves it, then the township would be responsible for any detriment that occurred. Or if a civil engineer was to approve it, then it would be the engineer's responsibility or the homeowner's responsibility. As I said, typically we don't get into debates with the presenters of delegations. And at the committee meetings, we cannot make a motion of council. That has to occur at a council meeting, which is, I think, in about 2 weeks, would be the next council meeting. I don't know what else I can offer. If any of the staff have any other suggestions.
Not at this time.
So your proposal would be to present a motion to council to have an engineer look at the drawings, or have Mr. Rakowski have an engineer approve the drawings and then proceed from there?
That would be my recommendation, yes.
Does anybody else have any input?
You talking, Joe or Richard Child here? Are you talking about council, or are you talking about the presenters?
I'm talking about anybody that's in the meeting.
Well, I would like to make a few comments. I live next door in a couple of houses from where Art Ruskowski lives. Prior to Dave becoming the work superintendent, the previous work superintendent installed the culverts the year before the paving was done. At that time, they removed the hard surface from that driveway. And since that, council had agreed at a meeting that the next time a paver would be in the area, they would replace it. However, there is a paver in our town right now, and I don't think the timing is right. So I would, if we're ever going to go forward with that, I think it would have to be at the next time a paver is in our community. So, however, I think Dave, the work superintendent, said if he doesn't make a decision just previously, if the application didn't meet his standards, he would go to council for a recommendation. I think council was missed out here. I don't believe we ever discussed this at council. We're 3 months into this. I believe when I look at the submission, there was discussion of this a few years ago about installing this culvert. And water runs downhill in Whitney and likely the rest of our province. And for us to delay and possibly request that a resident pay or acquire the services of an engineer, to me, when we directed the water onto the property, you know what, I've looked at this a number of times and I walked by, it just seems like the most simplest solution. And I don't believe, when I look at the plans of the different drawings that have been in upgrades in our township, I don't see where I can't recall where I've seen special details about engineering drawings at specific driveways over the last 4 or 5 years when we've upgraded. So I don't know why we would say that we should have one here when it was likely the case of the initial installation the year before the paving took over, that the culvert should have been installed in a manner then to eliminate the water, with the foresight in mind of where the drainage and the water was going to flow from to the north. So it seems like a whole bunch of issues here that's going to cause stress, undue stress. And I think it's as simple as Joe, Chairman, you worked in the logging industry and you likely constructed a lot of roads and drainage at the same time to ensure the water proceeded in the right manner. And you know what? When there are issues before of some nature that may have required council to view on site, and possibly that's what should be done rather than an engineer. I think each one of us councillors have looked at this, and I have also, and I think all the resident is trying to do is speed up to actually to direct the water that's coming off the road, which the township was responsible for. He wants to speed up that process of that water directly to the culvert that's going across the road and just filters into the bush. It's not a stream of any nature. And he just wants to get rid of that in a hurry so it doesn't contaminate his lawn, beautify it. We've never, ever seen such drawings, the detail of such drawings in any construction within our township that we presented here. And for us to delay this and require an engineer, I think is, I don't agree with it at all. Anyway, thank you. And sorry, one more comment. Sorry, I tried to get in and I couldn't get into your meeting at the beginning, and I couldn't get a sound, so I was a bit late, but I did read the presentation a few times, so, and I'm aware of the issue. Anyway, thank you very much.
Does any other councillor wish to voice an opinion? I tend to agree with Councillor Shala's statement, and if Councillor Shala is not prepared to put a motion on the table to that effect for the next council meeting, I would do it, or I certainly would second a motion by Councillor Shala to proceed in.
I certainly would put a motion on to that effect because I'm well aware of the situation.
Chair, could I speak?
Okay. Yes, please go ahead.
It's Jane Dumas speaking, and I support staff's recommendation in this. I think as councillors, we have an obligation to, Mr. Rozowski is indicating that he feels that we have not supported him as a taxpayer. We have an obligation to support all the taxpayers of this municipality. And if there's any situation in which litigation or something coming back to us because work was not done correctly, Councillor Shala professes to know the situation very well and the history. I do not. And anyway, this will go to council and we will have a vote at council, but I support staff recommendation that we should have this done, and it can be done fairly quickly to have approval so that, again, it doesn't come back to council and to the taxpayers if it doesn't work properly. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Anybody else? I have one question for Mr. Rozowski. There seems to be, it's not clear whether the culvert that he intends to put in would be attached to the driveway culvert. Mr. Rozowski, is that your plan?
Yes, it is the plan to attach it to the driveway culvert, but leave the space between the extended culvert and an existing road culvert for the clean out. And as I said in my presentation, Mike Anderson suggested that the best would be to put a catch basin, which I am ready to install it. It will not only improve the aesthetics, but also it will help to maintain, because we have lots of needles coming from the pine trees and lots of leaves. So that would be easier to clean instead of all of that going into the hole. Yeah. So so that's the answer. Yeah.
Okay, so there will be at least one, maybe two motions presented at the next council meeting. One probably to agree with Superintendent Gatley's recommendations of an engineer, and possibly another one just to proceed with maybe a clause in that the township wouldn't be responsible for any detrimental effects to the property. I think the time is well used up on this matter now, so I would direct staff to prepare a motion or motions for the next meeting, and we can proceed on now to the other delegation.
Okay. I thank you, Art and Eric, for your participation, and I am going to send you out of the meeting now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oops.
Is Cameron McRae in the meeting now, Holly?
Not yet, no. Hey, morning, Cam. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. If you can hear me okay.
Yep.
Okay, Cam, you can go ahead with your presentation now.
Okay, I'll just keep it quick, but thank you everyone for your.
Pam, I'm going to stop you just so you know this is live streamed to YouTube.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Thanks. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for your consideration to have the discussion about the possibility of buying the shoreline at the house or at 255 Erie Road. Basically, I'm interested in buying the shoreline. I know right now there's 2 sheds on the property, and I think part of them are on the shoreline allowance. They were built by the previous owner, and I know they're in rough shape, and at some stage I would like to rebuild them. And I also believe by removing the sheds and putting them in a different location, it would allow for better activities by the township in terms of a turnaround, just because right now they're in a bad location. I also realized the whole issue with buying the shoreline allowance is it's the road activities and winter maintenance activities of the township. It makes the driveway very tight here to turn around. I want to work with the township, and I've been speaking to Dave about it as well. I'm just trying to improve access for the township, because I very much see it's my benefit that the township comes and picks up garbage and plows the driveway and stuff. And I very much always appreciate their activities, and in any ways possible, I want to accommodate to you guys. The other reason I'm interested in buying the shoreline allowance is, especially this year, I've noticed Erie Road has become very busy, especially this spring when the park was closed. Erie Road was very busy with tourists being directed to Erie Road just for access to the park or for a place to walk. And there were several times when I came home and people were parked in our driveway and you couldn't pull in or you couldn't leave and people were on the septic. And I see this being more of a problem going forwards as there's more development happening on Erie Road and it's becoming increasingly used by tourists. So I just don't know if there's a way to buy the shoreline allowance so I could post what's my property and what is not. So I think that's basically my presentation, what I'm interested in, why I'm interested in purchasing the shoreline allowance. So.
Okay, does any staff want to add any information or any information that would benefit council in making a decision?
So Cam, it's Tracy. I didn't think, I don't know if somebody else was talking there. I think my question, and I think Councillor Stussy, on your, Holly, can you go to the one map? It's says Anchor Island owned by Weber's. Cam had submitted that one with the, it's probably underneath that one. It's within that package. Oh, you're muted too. It's the aerial photo.
Sorry. There's one that says additional McCrae map. Is that, I'll just.
No, it's within that last one, the last submission that you had on there. It's an aerial photo. That one's good too, but the aerial photo shows the existing sheds and stuff. So go underneath that. Oh.
Prior to that one.
Sorry. So can you see my folders?
Yes.
Yes. So if you go to the last map that you just had up, and if you scroll, yeah, if you scroll down, it should be with the.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's in the folder.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
In the file. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stop my share. Aha. Is it there now?
Yeah, thanks. It doesn't show the addition on here of Cam's garage, I believe, but you're talking about the sheds, Cam. Were you proposing to purchase just in front of those sheds and then all the way around to like where the sea and rail line or the railroad starts?
Ideally, and I'd also like to purchase on the other side of the driveway as well, across from the house, if that could be included in the sale.
Okay, so up where the hydro pole is there?
It is, yeah. I just thought you could
Okay.
build a shed there, and that would get them away from the water's edge. And I know for road maintenance and stuff, in terms of plowing and stuff, you'd give you a lot more room if those two sheds were removed right now.
Okay, so Dave, how do you see that with the turnaround?
Well, a garage was constructed attached to that house that you see there. And since then, it's been quite tight, especially as winter progresses. So the guys come in and they swing towards the hydro pole, and it disappears as winter goes on. So it's very, very tight. we should have 90-foot diameter for our turnarounds, and we're down to well under that right now. So removal of the sheds would help, or possibly even, you know, moving the turnaround more towards the railway, like out in that grassed area. I don't know how you feel about that, Cam, kind of on the other side of the hydro pole.
Okay, ideally, like I think that's where I'd like to, if I could buy that piece of property, would build a garage there, and if you could somehow incorporate a turnaround into it.
Yeah, the hydro pole is the anchor that's really causing us most of the problem right now.
Yeah, I measured this morning. It's about 13 meters from the edge of the house, and the pole is about 15 meters.
Right.
So it's fairly tight for turning around equipment.
Yeah, that's about half of what we require. I mean, our it's all time for us. You know, we have a truck that has to jockey back and forth 5 or 6 times to get out of there. It slows us down on what's already quite a long route. The other thing that the guys mentioned is when they come down there with the grader, they don't want to wreck the grass turning around. I know you said you didn't mind that, but they're conscious of those kind of things. So they're backing out with the grader all the way from the far end to turn around and then back in and make the passes. So it's a little insufficient. Well, it's quite a bit insufficient right now, what's going on. So anything would be an improvement.
Okay. And I don't know if you'd ever have the size turnaround there, even if you remove those sheds and everything else. I think it's just too small a land mass right there to actually have a huge turnaround, but you could probably gain on it. But I don't think you would ever have the 90 feet.
Well, close to it would be helpful, or, you know, anything better than what we have.
I think it definitely could be improved. I don't think you would ever have quite the 90 feet.
Chair, I have questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Who owns that land? Is that Crown land or is that patent land, other than the lot where the house is? If it's Crown land, we can't do anything with it. And the second thing in that map I'd like to ask as well, there seems to be a line drawn around the railway bed. You're not asking for us to consider that shoreline, are you?
No, I don't believe this. I think that originally belonged to the railroad.
Actually, yeah, it actually belongs to the township, so.
Okay, no, I'm not interested in the.
Okay, but I'm just wondering if that's Crown land adjacent to you, then we have no jurisdiction over it whatsoever.
Okay, I just assumed it would be part of the shoreline, but it might not be.
I don't know that, and that's what I think we need to know.
Sorry.
Holly, if you go to the map, the additional map.
This is the, can you see that map? That map is indicating the shoreline road allowance, correct? Like all that white area is shoreline road allowance?
Well,
No.
if you go to the additional map the other little one that was on there, it's not within that folder. It's the additional one they had up earlier.
This one?
The second tab, yeah, that one. So it's highlighted in yellow, Cam's property. The question that I had as well was you see the shoreline goes around, but what is that piece where your mouse is on? I know the township owns the former railway bed, is the township owns that. It's just that piece, like as Jane spoke of, is who owns that piece.
We don't have record of that.
I don't have anything on that one, no.
Can I ask a question on a previous photo? You know, there's a line there, but it's maybe my computer or my eyes or something, but it almost looks like a line runs through a house.
Oh, that was that aerial photo,
Yeah.
Richard?
Did you pull
Yeah,
that up?
see,
Liz?
That's those, I'm not sure where Cam got it, but some of those maps weren't to scale. I don't know if you can speak of it, Cam, but
Right
we
here.
have it. It just shows as that's just a property line.
Where is it? Yeah, okay.
That's off.
If I could just ask the question now. It looks like a line to me is running through a house on one, let me think here now, on the east side, and then on the south side, it also looks like it runs through the house. Like that line that's closest to the water is where is the property? Is it that line to the lake, or is it, there's also another line that looks like it runs through the middle of the road?
Yeah, that line was just a pencil mark, I believe.
Yeah,
Where is
that
the
map,
property? Where's the property is my question.
that map came from the M&R. It's off their, off their Make a Map website. And when you look,
Sometimes they're not correct either, eh?
No,
they're
they're
not,
not. They're not.
look at the maps of Whitney, everyone's houses aren't where the lines are. A lot of them have lines to their house. So I assume the whole
Yeah.
system is
Layered.
off by a little.
You're right, Cam.
The only one, there's lots of them like that.
I think the whole layer is off a little bit.
But
I
I guess
have-
if I look at this, if Cameron, is it the property, I guess to simplify it, as you drive in, are the property lines, is one of those lines, or is the corner of the post in the center of that turnaround?
I don't believe so. I think probably the one post might be on the driveway.
Okay, okay.
I believe. I'm not quite sure where it is.
Chair, can
And
I
as
add
far as
something
As
there?
far as a driveway and a turnaround, we likely have lots of driveways where we turn around and they're on Crown, so what else are we going to do? That's just the way the township was set up originally. There may be one on Sunset Drive that may have been surveyed. I'm not too sure. But I don't know of any others that were surveyed, and but we do need a turnaround. But as far as if it's allowed or not allowed, there are likely other roads in their township that aren't surveyed, and there are turnarounds at those. So.
Hey, Councillor Collins, you had a comment?
I do. A couple of years ago, there was an issue with regards to what was the previous railway was actually offered to the township, and Robert Howe, the township lawyer, said the township at the time did not take over the property that was the CN railway, and in fact it was deemed to be Crown land and not township property. Now, is that for the whole of that rail bed? Or was it just small pieces of it that the township did not take over? Because it's my understanding that it was offered to the township refused to adopt it, and therefore it was Crown land that we're talking about.
So can you tell us the exact area that you're speaking of, Sandra? Like what is the situation that Robert Howe weighed in on? Is it in Madawaska?
It was, yes.
Yeah. So it seems to me that every section, that there are a lot of different sections of the rail bed that have been broken up differently. For example, at the public school, that portion was passed along with that property. The portion from Whitney to Madawaska seems to be still under the Crown. So there's for whatever reason, it's been broken up separately. We know our neighboring municipality in Wilno, all of that rail trail went with the properties, so it's all private property, so it's different across the province.
Okay. So we do actually own, the township actually owns this section that
This
we're
tiny
questioning
piece
here
we do.
today. Right, okay.
If I can maybe just add some clarification to that. At the time of those transfers, the corporation of the Township of Erie existed. There was no corporation to accept ownership of it in Madawaska. That's why it's different.
I see.
I just want to remind Cam that because the Erie lake level is a flooded level, that some of that portion of the shoreline road allowance could in fact be underwater. It's not necessarily all dry land. And I would submit that he submit a formal application to purchase the shoreline allowance, and we will deal with it the same as any other shoreline allowance. And there may be a proviso in there that there be an area set aside for the township truck, grader, et cetera, to turn around. So as long as that condition is in there, I don't think there's any problems. From my point of view, anyway, I'm not an expert on it by any means, but does anybody? Yes,
Chair,
go ahead, Jane.
Thank you. I would like better mapping, and I guess that would come if we were looking at the shoreline allowance. And I certainly would like to know the designation of the property around the patent land in that area as well. And I wasn't saying because it was Crown land, we couldn't have a turnaround there. If we certainly can. But I think I'd like to know what we're dealing with as patent land, and that would come through, I guess, in a better map with the shoreline allowance application.
Well, he already submitted an application. I would
Okay.
be, I think, a survey or preliminary survey of what is proposed would be the only way that we'd be able to determine exactly what property is there and what's being proposed. Would you agree, Mr. Harper?
One little problem I see, the purchase of shoreline applications or purchase of shorelines are normally done by the person who abuts them. In this case, not all of that shoreline is abutting private property. Now, I agree with Jane on clarification whether or not that is Crown or municipal land, that other chunk. Before we can say for sure what we should be doing with it, there is a portion of the 66 that can be purchased by CAM that abuts his private property there. That little area, where is it, on the southwest side of his private property? There's not a problem with that. But when you start going north from that piece of vacant land in there, we don't know who owns it, or we're not sure who owns it. That should be clarified first. We are not supposed to be selling.
Who's responsible? Go ahead, Dave.
We are not supposed to be selling shorelines on property that's not owned by an individual. To sell all that shoreline to CAM, again, not knowing who owns the property that abuts it is a problem.
Okay, so we would require a survey then, is that correct?
Yeah.
Does that give you enough direction, Tracy?
I guess my question would be I guess it would be up to the property owner to do the survey.
Mhm.
It would be a preliminary survey submitted to the township with who owns that piece, because the survey should tell it through a title search. And then what is being proposed, and we could proceed further with the sale, I guess.
That would be the correct way of doing it, Tracy. But
What's your thoughts, Cam?
The cost of any surveys, that type of stuff, should be the applicant's responsibility.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, Cam. Do you have any questions?
I don't think so. So my next step is to have a survey done.
Okay, you can give me a call too. We can discuss it if need be.
If
Okay.
you've got any problems, Cam, I can meet you on site up there anytime. Just give me a call. We can
Okay,
discuss it.
I appreciate that.
We can have a look at it.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, I guess that's all we can. Does anybody else have anything to add to this? If not, we'll proceed. Okay, can we move on to number 5 then, unfinished business?
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Cam.
Thanks, Cam.
Cam?
Are we ready to proceed?
Sure.
Okay, outdoor privies, Gallery Lake Memorial Park. I don't know who's addressing that, but
Dave?
Yeah, I guess I can. We relet the tender and we had a single bid, still well over the budget amount. I guess at this point in time, we could explore doing the framing work in-house or just hiring a carpenter. I don't think the price is acceptable. The tank is sitting, waiting, purchased for us to put in. Just have to see how our work schedule looks. I don't know how council feels about that, but we could, you know, it's 16 by 8 framed building, so.
Does anybody want to add anything? Suggest anything?
Dave, I'm just wondering, especially now, it's likely going to increase the amount of cleanings or maybe the amount of water that's sprayed around there. Couple of things. What type of interior finish would you put in if it's framed? Also, so that when you're spraying, it's not deteriorating the building. Possibly it could be done in like a metal roofing sheeting type of style. Or did you consider having poured walls put on that top of that out of concrete and then a roof where you could spray and clean and would be quite similar to possibly what they have in Madawaska. And anyway, it just may simplify it, and then you could put whatever type of exterior on the outside to blend into the area. Anyway, that's just my thoughts.
The building was designed by Mike Anderson, so he produced drawings. That's what we've been working from.
You didn't answer my question. What was the interior product going to be?
I believe he had plywood, pressure treated plywood.
Ooh.
With a block, you know, up 2 courses of block and then pressure treated plywood.
What, you've been in the building business for years. Would like a metal, you know, like a metal roof, you can get all kinds of different designs for, if it was sheeted with that type of product, would it put more of a finished look to it and be more dressed up on the interior? And also, if it was vertical, it would, the water would run off and may just dress it up and easier to clean, etc. than wood. Wood is not the greatest around when you're spraying every day.
Oh, I agree.
If I can offer a suggestion, the old fire hall in Madawaska, it was a block wall and we insulated it with an inch thick product. I can't remember the name of it, and then sheeted it with galvanized roofing. And because we were spraying water around in there sometimes too, and it worked quite well. The water just runs off again. And I would think that galvanized or steel or tin or whatever the decision would be less apt to hold odors that sometimes penetrates into those old wood buildings quite badly. So I think at this stage, the best way to proceed is just to, like Dave suggested, just hire a carpenter and do it. Does anybody have any objection to doing that? Go ahead, Jane.
I agree with Richard, and I think we talked about having it like not tight to the floor so that if we did wash the interior that the cleaning solutions would run out and we'd have to deal with that. But I think anything we do should be, you know, should be constructed with the parameters of COVID. I think the more easily cleaned it is, I think is the best way to go for sure. So even pressure treated wood inside is rough, etc. And I think if we could look at this maybe and have it ready to go, you know, have some materials and have some mock-ups if just to make it really easily cleanable. I think that's really important.
Suppose we could take it back to Mike Anderson and just make sure it meets the building code, but likely block all the way up would be the best under that. You know, to think about ease of cleaning.
Well, a white or whatever colored steel in the interior would make it, just give it that finished appearance. It's certainly, hey, we don't need to tell anybody how busy that location is, especially now with COVID where everybody's going there to eat their lunches now and from takeout, and it is anyway, we just dress it up rather than, but anyway, you know what, I have ideas I think would work, and Joe just confirmed that the water would run straight down and onto the concrete block or over it, and be just quick. and neat looking. And then put it whatever, even if it was wood structure, but the wood will, you know, the mice can get in, the bees can get in, whatever. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
If I can suggest, Dave, that you have something ready for the next council meeting to present as a motion, and then council can proceed from there.
Yeah, I'll have a discussion with Mike and see what we can come up with.
Okay, so we can move on. I think Holly, you want to address the fiber optic cable on Gallery Road?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I had, was not at the last council meeting, but I had indicated that the company is working on, or has submitted an agreement to us. The agreement now includes them bringing fiber optics out of the ground in various locations so that they can service along Gallery Lake Road. They will be providing us a drawing, and hopefully, I guess we're probably looking at next spring now, but I will include that proposed agreement in the council package for the next council meeting, and there will be a resolution for you guys to direct me whether or not you want me to sign that agreement.
Okay, I was of the understanding that they wanted to put the cable in before the paved walkway.
Agreed. It's not under the asphalt, and we've been going back and forth on this for quite some time. So we've put in the agreement that they won't do damage to our infrastructure. And if they choose to do that, it will be outside of it will be still in the road allowance outside of the asphalt.
Okay.
If
So
we,
you're going to have a motion with something to that effect for the next council meeting?
I'm just going to have a
I think that's
motion.
what I heard you say.
Sorry, I'm just going to have a motion for you for council to Are we freezing? I'm just going to have a motion on whether council wants me to sign the agreement. I'll put the agreement in the package.
Sure, Florence.
Okay.
I've looked at that since. I thought it was to go underneath also. I'm not sure where the lot lines are. I think that's the first thing to determine. If we look at it, now when you look at it and you look at where the hydro poles are, some of the boulders, there's likely one there that's likely 8 feet by 4 feet on the side of the road. You look at where some of those trees are, that certainly adds to the location. Where all those homes are along there, and what kind of damage, if the machine's likely going to have to work on the side of the sidewalk to trench. I think, you know what, I think a site meeting and look at it ahead of time before somebody spends a lot of money, or the preliminary be a survey of the location, which I think was a suggestion somewhere I read, because I think we're going to have quite an effect on whatever is along that road. And it may not even be possible. That's it.
Okay, well, in any case, I would hope that everybody try to make themselves as familiar as they can with the road and the road area, and then we'll make a decision when motion is presented, report is presented.
I just have one comment, Councillor Florent. I have to agree with Councillor Shalla in his assessment of that. There's going to be, I can't see them putting a cable in the ground without disturbing our brand new asphalt. And along the edge there are trees, you've got root systems, you've got rocks. Why can't they go up in the poles, the existing poles, and bring it in that way, above ground? Is there a problem with that?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Why does it have to be in the ground?
I'm not a
It's a
fiber.
good question, Dave.
Neither am I. I would just like to find out why couldn't follow the existing lines in above ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's a question maybe, Holly, you can ask.
I think that there's a cost to being on hydro's poles. I'm not sure. I think there's legalities to do with that, but I'm not a fiber optic specialist, so I can ask them that. I guess the matter at hand is that they've asked us to put it in our road allowance, and we've gone forward with creating an agreement to do that. So I don't think that they're looking for us to give them alternative solutions. They're just asking us for this specific request.
Okay, it either can or it can't be done. And as long as we have an understanding that any damage that they cause, they have to fix or restrict them from causing any damage to start with, I think it's not our business, whether it's in the trees or where it is. It's up to the company that's installing it.
Okay.
Okay, if we can move on then to new business, and there's a shoreline allowance application from Elm Lake.
I apologize. This probably should have went under unfinished business because it was brought up at the last council meeting. And then it was deferred because there was a small piece of road allowance in there as well. So Holly, if you go to the next map. Sorry, it's turned sideways. My apologies, but there's a little piece highlighted in yellow. That is the road allowance. It's a small piece, and then the shoreline goes within the white on the outside. I looked at other applications that has been passed in the past, and we have sold that as well with the same cost as the shoreline road allowance. And I believe that is why it's come back, because of that piece. And I just want to make sure that council and the committee is okay with that piece being included. I still have to do a resolution for the next council meeting for you to authorize me to proceed with the sale. So what is everybody's thoughts on this, I guess, is where I'm looking at.
You have another map there, Tracy, that shows that better. The actual survey map?
The survey map, yeah, Holly, I think if you go down, there might be another one. Right there.
Okay, that one right there.
Yeah.
The unopened road allowance is inside of the shoreline allowance. There's a little wee piece of shoreline allowance on the right-hand side of that picture. You'll see the straight lines coming down through it. That's your road allowance between lots. Yeah, that piece right there, and the one just to the left of it. Left, yeah, that one there. Okay, that's your road allowance.
Oh, okay.
Now the shoreline allowance is on the right-hand side of that little piece in there. There's just a very small portion of it shoreline allowance.
My apologies. I have them mixed up in the other map. I thought it was the other way around. Thanks, Dave, for clarifying that.
Yeah, I have no problem with proceeding and treating it the same. It's an unopened road allowance between concessions 15 and 16, and there's no way ever that the township would be opening that road allowance. My suggestion is to just treat it the same as the shoreline allowance.
Mine too.
Can we follow that one way or the other now that you've explained it? Either up or down?
It's in the lake. There's lake on both sides of it,
Yeah,
Richard.
I guess, no, but what I'm getting at is what would convince me to support this is really no one else. When you're walking around there comes a time when you're running out of, when you get to the property north, maybe north or up to the top, no one can walk around there anyway because of it's running into somebody else. You run out of road allowance, correct? You still have shoreline allowance, but the road allowance is actually in the water. So I don't see it being of any use to anybody for any reason.
None.
So I would support it.
I agree.
Yep.
Okay,
Me as well.
I guess you have direction from council to proceed.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is maintenance at Gallery Lake Boat Launch. Who's going to address that?
Could I start it off, Councillor Ford?
Here, go ahead, Councillor Harper.
I brought this up a couple of times in the past in regards to maintenance at our boat launching ramp on Gallery Lake. Now, this year, I guess with pandemic, this type of things, the usage down there has just been extraordinary. There's more people at that dock this year than I've ever seen before. What I've been asking for is that Parks Ontario advertise that as an access point. And they've certainly done a good job of it this year because there are people, just hordes of people, to 30 and 40 vehicles down there at a time. What I'm looking for, or I'd like to see, is for them to contribute to the maintenance of that location. Now, we're going to have to replace those privies sooner or later. Sooner, I hope, than later. Again, the costs are outrageous. The maintenance on the docks, the maintenance on the grass cutting, it would be nice to have the go around completely paved so people know where to park. This year, in several instances, people were parked in the gravel and made it very, very difficult for our residents to access that boat launch ramp with a boat trailer on. They just used up pretty well all the space that was in there. So I would like to see them in some way contribute to funding of the maintenance on that boat launch ramp, instead of our residents picking up the full cost, when a lot of cases, they can't even get close to the boat launch ramp. Or if they can, they've got to wait an unreasonable length of time for people with canoes to get out of there. So all I'm doing is looking for money. I'd like to see something, some agreement. What's other councillors think of that?
So I agree with you, Councillor Harper, but how would you suggest that we proceed with that?
Pardon me, Joe?
How would you suggest we proceed?
Well, get a letter drafted, sent to the parks up here at the East Gate, and get together and discuss this. This may be part of the problem at Ale Lake this year also. There's a number of people. I have never, ever seen, in all the time I've been here, the number of people at our beach even down there on certain days during the summertime, and certainly not at the boat launch ramp. So if they can,
I'm sure that every council could relate stories of larger than normal volume in our township this year.
oh
There's
yeah,
no doubt about it. With council's approval, I would suggest that staff draft up a letter to the park superintendent suggesting that we enter into some kind of a cost sharing agreement. Is that the general opinion of council? I don't know if everybody disagrees or if everybody agrees.
That's fine with me.
Joe, it's Jane. I think, yes, and I think we can tie it into Ale Lake parking lot as well. I think they need to look at all their access points within the township and come up with agreement with our township as to how the maintenance and the upkeep of those boat launches are going to be maintained and parking areas. I think it's an important issue at this point in time, and you know, it is they are their access points.
I think we're all in agreement, Jane. I just want to remind everybody how unsuccessful we've been with correspondence with the park over the Madawaska River Parkway on Major Lake Road. So expect a solution in a few months.
Oh, absolutely.
Does staff have enough
Can I just
direction
ask-
to proceed?
Can I just ask for clarification? So in this discussion, I feel like this is not the first time we've had this discussion. So is it council's feeling that the only two true access points that we have are Gale Airy and Shell Lake? Or because it's my understanding that there are places where people access Algonquin Park that are not considered access points. So what what are we asking? Because if we're asking for all of the places in our township where people access Algonquin Park, that's a longer list. So I'm just asking if council can clarify that.
Well, Hay Lake should be included.
But it's not an official access point, correct?
Yes, it is. So is Allen Lake, an official access point.
Okay. And are those the only four then? I was under the impression that Hay Lake was absolutely not mapped, but you're telling me that it is an official.
Hay Lake is considered an access point, and so is Allen Lake. There's quotas for, there used to be a quota assigned to each one of those locations.
But is it an access point on a map?
I would say it is.
Okay.
I will check. Just give me 1 second. I would say it is.
So we have four then. Is that?
The Shallow Lake access boat launch is actually in Algonquin Park. It's not in our township, but the road to it is certainly in our township.
I'll just, it's Councillor Bongo here, if it's all right if I just chime in. I do a lot of canoe tripping, so I am familiar with the access points. And yes, to my knowledge, it is noted on the Algonquin Park official map that Galleri Lake, Hay Lake, Allen Lake, and the Shaw Lake are official access points. They are not unmarked alternative access points. They are very clearly marked on the official documentation from the province.
Great. Okay.
Good.
Okay,
Richard, I don't know if you can hear us. We're going to move on. Go
Okay,
ahead.
Richard, we're moving on to the Allen Lake parking lot. I think possibly Dave might be the best person to present this.
Yeah, we, Joe and Sharon from the association and I walked the parking lot yesterday to have a look at things. I understand that it's been extremely congested this year, and a lot of the American residents have not been able to come at all. So a lot of the problem is coming from trailers. There's an enormous amount of trailers parked all over the place. We also spoke to a gentleman that's associated with the marina down there, and he was telling us that people have been storing their boats there in the winter and intending to do it again. I haven't witnessed that so much myself. There's some expansion room available. We'd done a survey a few years back, and we came up with a preliminary parking design.
Already got coffee on?
Where we go from here, I think we need to get the drawings in front of council again and maybe look at our bylaws, how we might better keep that parking lot organized and orderly. We have a memorandum of understanding with the M&R for its use, and the two main restrictions we have is we cannot restrict public access and we cannot charge for use. So whatever we come up with, we'd have to work within that framework, and anything beyond maintenance, we need to have approval from the M&R. So I'll open it up to anyone else.
Dave, if I can suggest, when we're talking with M&R, maybe explore the possibilities of an additional trailer parking area, especially for long-term trailer parking area, whether it be at the top of the hill on the east side of the Allen Lake Road or at the old dump site, which has been brought up numerous times by everybody. And the agreement could either be with the township or with the Allen Lake Cottage Association, I think, although it'd probably be far better to have an agreement with the township. Just to include that in the discussion of doing the work at the actual parking area.
Sure, I think if it's possible, the old landfill site is the natural location. It's already cleared. I don't know what restrictions they have with the MOE. That closure, that's been closed for a number of years. I know that we are held to 10 years when ours closed. So
Dave?
Yeah, it's my belief
Sorry.
that
Sure.
waste disposal site been closed for 22 years now. Go ahead, Councillor Vermeer.
When we talked yesterday about the old dump and mention of a gate and locking the gate when there's trailers in there, whose responsibility is that going to be to have the gate there and supply keys, etc.? Is that going to be the Lake Association going to be doing that, or is that something that the township is going to do?
I think step number one would be to figure out whether the M&R will even entertain the idea. And then we can work out the mechanics of operating it.
It's Jane. If you remember when I sent the letter around from the Ale and Lake Cottage Association, they had mapping that showed that there were areas that were already designated by MNRF or M&R as parking based on the number of lots that were sold around that lake. Does that not still hold water, or why are we, South Algonquin, taking on that responsibility for parking if there's already something out there that said that with that number of lots, there would be additional parking? I think we need to explore all possibilities before we say we are going to do it. I think it needs to be done, but I thought that there was already spots designated in that map that they had from, I think it was in the 1990s or something.
Dave?
Yeah, it's dated from 1989. I've never seen this map before, and it has a number of areas designated as public reserves.
Yes.
And it's a great question for the M&R, because I would like to see if this still holds any water, or if policies have changed, or where things are at the moment.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If I may, I know other dumps or landfill areas, when they closed all those, closed Ale Lake dump, for example, years ago, I know other dumps, they put gates on them. Possibly there's already a gate there. And maybe the association could work out their own deal with the M&R, and if they lock it, they lock it. But I don't know if that's a township responsibility. I certainly agree that if they want to have additional parking, and if they can work it out with MNRF, so be it. Good for them. Perfect spot.
Hay Lake, didn't the Hay Lake Property Owners Association do something similar at Hay Lake, where they have their own gated access and parking, and they maintain everything on it, and the township's not involved in that?
That's correct.
And if I could add one additional thing, when I was at the Cottage Association meeting in Ale and Lake last year, after the meeting, socializing and talking to people, we keep hearing of the influx of people to Ale and Lake to access the lake. But again, I think some of the cottages on the lake probably have 4 or 5 vehicles that are parked in the parking lot of individuals at the cottage at that time. And at that day, one individual indicated that they were having a family get together, and like there were about, I said, well, how many people have come in? And she said, oh, we've got at least 10 or 12 vehicles that are coming in for this event. So, lakeside cottages are becoming more popular with families and groups and stuff, so that I think there's growth of access to the lake for recreation, and there's individuals that don't have property, and then I think property owners are having probably at times more people visiting as well.
Well, I know I've noticed on the lake this year for sure, a lot more canoes traveling up the lake to access Algonquin.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I would agree that with each cottage, especially water access, there's more than one vehicle on a majority of the times. Absolutely. And yesterday with the discussion with Dave and Councillor Florent, there is room in the existing parking lot to expand, and hopefully that's going to take place.
Good.
I might just add it. I really think we should look at our policies for our access point. When we were there yesterday, I think there was probably 30, maybe even 50 trailers at this time of year, tucked in the woods, taking parking places. And there's a number of storage trailers where people have closed trailers that are starting to show up, and they're parking sideways. there was a pontoon boat on a trailer in the parking lot. So, you know, when you're taking 40 or 50 parking spaces with trailers, it really impacts that parking space. It's limited.
Mhm. I think we're all in agreement on the area requires more parking and maybe less trailers in that parking lot if we can find someplace else for them to put the trailers. So Dave, I'll put it in your hands to the possibilities of additional area, and leave it up to your work schedule to proceed with the tree removal and improving the present area, and trying to provide as many possible places in there as we can. And as you indicated, the placement of some bullards in their designated parking area may help the situation as well.
And just one final comment. I thought if we were going to do a visit to the site that all of council would have been made aware, and I'm sorry that I wasn't, because I certainly would have liked to have been there to be part of the discussion that took place. So maybe if any future site visits occur, we could let all of council know.
I'll have to take blame for that one. Mayor Dumas, sorry, just had to squeeze it in yesterday with the paving was going on, and was able at least to have a quick view before the meeting.
Okay, but I would appreciate in the future if we could all have the same opportunity.
Sure.
Thank you.
My invitation only came as I was on my way to Barry's Bay, so I had about a half an hour notice too, Jane. I just happened to be going by. So if anybody else has anything to add to the asset management committee meeting?
I would like to make 2 comments. Sorry I didn't get in earlier when there was a chance for the comment on the agenda. I just couldn't get connected for whatever reason. And but I would assume that Dave, as you mentioned previously, and I've circulated a memo back to, and I believe I copied you on an inquiry about that parking lot at Hay Lake, that winter parking lot. I would assume it's after you're done here in another week or so, you'll be moving out to Sabine?
That's correct.
Okay, excellent. Now, I did send an email and suggest that, I don't know what your plan is, but down at the bottom of Maple Drive here, I suggested you put an extension on that culvert. Either your plan is to put more riprap with sometime synthetic barrier there, but it's I wouldn't doubt with the spring runoff, you're going to undermine that paved sidewalk there, because it's a straight drop off to the end of the culvert, and then something should be done. But anyway, I'll just mention it again at the meeting. I did mention it to you privately, and I think it needs some attention.
Okay.
Thank you.
I thought I heard somebody else wanting to make a comment too.
Well, that was just me, Councillor. Okay. I just wanted to say that in regards to the meeting at the parking lot yesterday, originally it was supposed to be Alka and Mr. Gottlieb that were supposed to make arrangements together to set this all up. And I guess communication got confused that Alka thought Dave was going to contact him and vice versa. So I took it upon myself to contact Mr. Gottlieb, and he squeezed us in. So I will take responsibility for that. Thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the asset management meeting. I can already see Joe Vermeer's hand, and I can see Mayor Dumas' hand. Okay, the asset management meeting is adjourned.
I don't know what's going on here now. Holy gee. No. If you just give me a minute here, I'm trying to get somewhere on here where I'm not sure where I want to go. Okay, I guess I'm on. Anyway, I'll just get my agenda here. I miss it here. Don't have my watch. But anyway, would like to open the meeting, the waste management meeting for September 23rd. And if there is there any additions or amendments to the agenda? What's going on here? Live on YouTube, view options, using the air.
Is there something you're missing, Richard?
I'm missing. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
There's no additions.
Sorry, I don't know what's happening here, but I've lost all the screen of everybody. But I guess if you can hear me and we can proceed with our meeting, that's quite fine. Anyway, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And if there's an agenda in front of you, is there any additions or amendments to it? None noted? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, I don't hear anybody. You can go ahead. Sorry, Richard.
Is everybody okay? Can I get a mover to adopt the agenda?
I'll move it.
Moved by Joe.
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Dave. Does anybody have a pecuniary interest to disclose? None noted. Unfinished business. A litter cleanup was discussed in the spring, and I believe it was suggested that it be done in the fall. I don't know how efficient it would be to do it now with all the ferns and everything else. But anyway, it's I guess that's what the province was recommending. So it's up for discussion. So, and also there's the report, the attached report that maybe Tracy or Dave wants to discuss.
No, nothing. You covered it all, Richard. It just was, it was discussed at a May 6th council meeting, and then it was deferred to another meeting, to a waste management meeting. And this is the first waste management meeting we've had since then. So I believe Councillor Bongo, you requested it on the agenda. Do you have anything to include on this or add?
Really the only thing, a few residents had approached me about just seeing litter along the side of the road and in the ditches. So it seems to be a community concern. And I thought that a litter cleanup day would be useful for two reasons. One is to actually clean up some litter off the sides of the street, and also to be a community development activity. From one of the previous meetings, I do remember Councillor Florent raising a potential issue with it interfering with moose hunting, I think it was. So I'm not sure how the township wants to approach the chosen time frame for this. And as I recall, there was another, we were discussing about the liability aspect of a litter cleanup day. And I think the township had found a good system for registering people, community members to participate in this day, just so that we cover the bases as well. So I don't know if staff has that that plan somewhere handy that they can retrieve at this time. I personally haven't been involved with the cleanup day before, so I'm not sure what the steps would be.
I know that some residents took it upon themselves to clean up in the spring, I believe in the Mackenzie Lake area. We didn't have any record of that. They did that on their own. I'm not aware of any other cleanup that happened over and above that. I don't know if it's staff or Holly, I see she's gone. I know Mackenzie Lake area did do some on their own. I guess what they were looking for was, because it was a resolution on the table between October 19th and the 25th to deem it waste reduction week. And does council, now I know numbers have been rising and we're kind of in the same situation as what we were when this all in the spring. I don't know how council feels with proceeding with a waste reduction week and organizing a cleanup.
If I may speak, it's Jane. If we're talking about working in the community, and even I find the traffic on the highway, I wouldn't go on the highway now at all. I don't care, you know, it's just phenomenal. I know it's designated as cleanup week, but I think as a municipality, we can decide when we want to do it. And I think the spring would be better, as Richard indicated, if we want to do highway. And I really want to do in front of my place because it's a good garbage dump. You can see both ways who's coming and going. I think there's a lot of garbage, a lot more garbage than there was previously as well. So again, I think we should, you know, if we want to recognize that October is that week in October, but it's true, it's hunting season, and you know, I don't want to be on roads in remote areas, etc., to clean up, but I think we do need to do it, and we will need to do it after the fall. You know, there'll be lots of more garbage of people visiting. And I think also, I don't know if you're aware, but they are going to be controlling the number of visitors to Algonquin Park. And when they're at capacity, they will be closing the park to people coming in, starting, I believe, this upcoming weekend. So people are going to be visiting Huntsville, Dwight, and Whitney if they can't get into Algonquin Park. So a cleanup now might be, you know, it might be very busy. So those are just my thoughts. I think it's a need for sure, but I don't think the timing is right.
Mayor Dumas, I think you've raised a very important concern here, the safety aspect. And anyone living along this road certainly knows how the traffic increased here in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So I think delaying it or postponing it to a later time or whatever certainly makes the most sense. And anyways, anyone else have any comments?
Maybe we could
I
organize.
agree with Jane's.
Go ahead, Joe.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah, sorry.
I agree with comments about the timing. And again, I want to reinforce that that week is during the open gun season for moose hunting, and the danger of putting somebody out in a rural area on the side of the road at that time of the year. I just wouldn't be willing to accept that responsibility at all. But to proceed, plan to proceed again next spring if things return to normal or near normal, I'm all for that.
Anyone else?
If I could just speak again.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I could definitely accept postponing it for all the reasons that have been brought forward. Although I would like to remind us that it's been I think in my whole time that I've been here on council, we've never had a community cleanup day. You know, I believe that this township cares about the environment. And I think organizing something like this would be excellent PR. And it would also set a good example for the community. So if we do postpone it, I would like to see something a little bit more firm, perhaps, with the date, because in prior years the melt was either too slow or too quick. It wasn't quite timed right. So I just don't want to lose out on creating on executing a community cleanup. So I don't know if there's like a motion that we could put together or something, just so that again, it doesn't just get ignored. Because I do think it is important, and I want us to set an example of environmental stewardship.
If I may comment, Bongo, I believe a year ago, when we discussed this in the winter, it was left up to each individual, to each councillor to organize within their own wards. I may not be correct in that, but I believe that's what we did discuss. And So there basically it was organized so that, in a sense, but it was left up to the individual councillors of their particular wards.
And if I can just add to that, I think that's a great point, Councillor Shala. I think if we are going to go forward and do this, maybe some structure, some guidance on how it's going to look. Is staff going to be responsible for advertising? Who is actually going to manage the volunteers? Will there be a role where people need to indicate volunteer, that they will be available to volunteer in advance, or will it be, you know, meet me at the Lester Smith at 9 a.m. on Sunday? So if maybe the first step in actually making this happen, if it's going to happen, is determining what the structure will be of a waste collection day, because there's lots of, you know, provincial programs and days and that kind of thing. I think generally Earth Day, they take the students out and just collect garbage. So it could be something very impromptu like that, where we just say, okay, on this date, if you want to go out and pick up garbage, do it. And I think that would be the easiest method, but maybe we need to decide what that is, because we're delaying something that we've never really articulated a thing, or like what it is actually going to be. So maybe that's the first step.
Well, each area, some areas, for example, Spine Ward, there's majority of people are seasonal and weekend people, and their weekends may not be the same as a community of Whitney. So they may want to do something on an evening where they're readily available and can do it. So I just think it's almost a ward by ward. But anyway, we should discuss that and we can move forward on it, and sometime over the winter.
Dare I make a comment?
Go for it, Dave. Councillor Harper?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment, Councillor Shella. It's nice to have a specific time frame for litter cleanup. But shouldn't we be promoting or pushing the fact that it's a 365-day-a-year job and we're all responsible for it? A lot of the litter in Whitney aren't tourists. They are local people who are putting garbage on our roads. We see it all the time. On Paradise Road, Sunset Trail, there was another one that we just cleaned up. We should be promoting a fact that littering happens 365 a year. We should be pushing to clean it up 365 days a year, not just a week or a day or whatever. We should be pushing it for the whole year.
Councillor Harper, I believe I put a resolution on the table within the last, within this term of council, suggesting that we put an additional fingerboard on our welcome to South Algonquin signboard, suggesting that something to the fact that we keep it clean, or thank you for whatever, to deal with this situation. So I think it's, you're quite correct. I've seen your son out collecting litter quite often. I've also seen there's another gentleman in town that does a daily route all around the gazebo and around the community. And if he didn't do that, I can imagine what our community would look like. So I fully agree, and possibly at our next waste management meeting, we can allocate time and discuss how we're going to move forward with this. Anyone else? If there isn't, I would like to ensure that, or we should ensure that we're, your comments and summary of the waste collection for the summer, the hazardous waste and whatever, that be included in, there's a lot of work put into it, so it'll be included in the minutes. Tracy, thank you. And if we could, with unfinished business, Holly, can you update us? Your last time we discussed, or previous meeting or two, you were going to meet with Infrastructure Ontario. Do you have any update?
Uh, I have met with Infrastructure Ontario. They have, they're willing to move forward with the transfer of the landfill, and they're actually pretty interested in it now because they feel that they need to reduce their liability and rid themselves of responsibility, I guess. So they're interested, and they've actually sent me an agreement that indicates that if we haven't done the transfer by March, that we will be given the opportunity, or given the requirement, I guess I will say, to enter into a lease agreement with them. They valued the property at $65,000, and I've asked them to give us the justification for that, and they've indicated that that information is privileged, so they won't provide it to us. So I'm actually just going back and forth right now, and I've created a summary going back to 1999 of the property information, and I'll be passing that along to the minister. So right now, I guess we're in negotiations, but they have indicated that they will provide us the property for $65,000.
Okay, could you at our next meeting, I'm not sure whether council, you'd have time for the council meeting or not, but if we could get a map of what we'd be getting for the $65,000, a map of the site.
Sure.
I know we've received, there was maps floating around before, but it just to refresh everybody's mind, maybe that's new to council or new since we're, because it's important that we stay on this. Thank you very much, Holly.
Okay.
Okay, new business. Dave? We're talking about reopening the reuse areas.
Sorry, the sound was kind of bad there. Were you on the reuse area?
Yes.
Yeah, just I guess the question came up whether we were going to reopen our reuse areas. We've kept them closed because it's part of the COVID policy, and didn't know if we wanted to discuss. It seems like everything is shutting back down again. So, you know, they're small and closed spaces. I suppose if we did decide to open them up, we would have to put mask signage and, you know, limit who goes in there. I'm not sure how we'd clean them if we were required to clean them. I do understand Madawaska Valley's reuse area is open, but I don't know what it looks like.
What does the rest of council feel?
Can I comment?
Go ahead, Joe.
I've had a lot of people asking me about it, that they miss it. I don't know if it's, I witnessed it one day there that somebody had to throw some perfectly good stuff away in the dump that looked almost like new, that somebody else probably could have made good use of it. I agree that it is an enclosed place and it would require some signage, but I think that's all it would require, just some signage saying that limiting maybe to one person at a time, and that I noticed that the stuff isn't being sanitized or cleaned between use. So it would be strictly at their own risk if people choose to use it. I think that's the only comments I have.
Anyone else have a comment?
If I could just add something, Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Bumble.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we could set it up similar to how the public privies are, with the sign and perhaps even just a thing of hand sanitizer there. I'm not sure if that's a huge cost or not, but at the very least it's available there for somebody. We could have the sign, wear a mask, sanitize your hands before going into the reuse container. And yeah, a one person limit, whatever it takes, just so that we're not liable in case transmission does occur as a result of the reuse container being used.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to mention that, you know, there are a lot of private opportunity for people to exchange unnecessary or unneeded materials or items. You know, the social media swaps are up and running and people are doing that privately. I don't know if this is necessarily a service that we need to provide. Yes, we're mitigating our liability, but you know, people could have, they're open to have yard sales these days. I just don't know that it's really a necessary service that we're going to step back into. But I'll leave it to you guys. That's just my thoughts.
Can I add to that, please?
Yes, Andrew?
I think it is one of the most valuable things that our dump actually provides. The number of people that actually have got stuff, especially cottage people that renew stuff, exchange stuff. I think it's a very valuable thing that we offer them, and to have it shut down for this length of time, I think is actually quite sad. And I think with proper signage and just a bottle of hand sanitizer, as Joe was saying, I think we should have this up and running again, most definitely. That's it. That's my view on it.
We've had 3 comments and 3 in favor and 1 comment basically saying we go another route. So anyone else have a comment? Well, I would support opening it. So I guess, Dave, what do you think? You're the guy that's managing it.
You know, if you want to open them, certainly we can produce the signage, and we'll check if we have extra hand sanitizer stations and make it happen.
Okay, appreciate what you can do. Thank you very much. Next, the provincial changes to the waste programs. There's an attached report.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So everybody got the report of the different programs and the updates, because you know there's been many changes going on and continue to go on for the next year or so. I don't know if anybody has any questions about what was in that report. It's pretty straightforward. I tried to make it as simple as possible, and but if you have any questions, I can try to answer your questions, or I can find out for sure what's.
I just want to point out that the electronic waste bin has been open all through COVID. I don't think there's much more risk taking something in there than there is in the reuse container. Just an observation.
Okay, thanks, Tracy.
You're welcome.
Okay, the waste management bylaw, the tipping fees. I received a concern about how it was, how we identify the size of a trailer, and it really made sense. We have a small trailer, a large trailer. We're putting too much onus on the site attendant. And thank you for looking at the other areas around us, the townships around us. But I just think to simplify the schedule of fees, and I'm sure everybody received this, if we just took small trailer out at the top, in the first line, you know what, it's a resident and it's a trailer, and there's no deal, no big deal. And my suggestion is down below where it comes to commercial contractor, if we just removed residents are exempt from the fee if it's brought in by the resident. If we just remove that, and if we want to, I guess when I look at it, I said, it says a half-ton van and small trailer. Well, my suggestion is, what's the difference with the contractor or his employee bringing it? There is no difference. And it's something that we want in the landfill area. We don't want it on the side of the road somewhere on a bush road. So possibly my suggestion when I looked at this was, in that column, we just put a 12-foot or under rather than a small trailer. We identify the size. It just reduces the friction, or and clarifies it for the attendant. And then where it says large trailer, we put over 12 feet. anyway, that's my suggestion. And any of these other, if we wanted to look at all the other information that was provided here from other townships, that we could do so and maybe circulate the corrections or suggestions back to Dave or back to all of council. And then when we look at our waste program during the winter months regarding pickup for commercial and etc., that we discuss it at that time. But for the moment or immediate change, if we, I don't know whether you're following me here or not, but if we just made some simple corrections to our Schedule A, it would clarify for the attendant. Anyway, certainly open for the discussion. Go ahead. Any comments?
No. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the idea of defining the trailer size, because at the moment it is completely ambiguous. So I don't know if anybody has any more thoughts on that. And what was the other thing? Sorry, go ahead. I'll finish up.
I'd like to make a comment, Councillor Shalla.
Yes, go ahead.
I think there's a little bit of confusion the way the bylaw is written. I don't know if you've had the same complaint, but I got one. For instance, if I'm doing my roof and I use a small landscaping trailer, or let's say a 4x7 or my half ton, and I bring in the shingles on a small trailer, I'm not assessed any fee. But if I bring in a big trailer full, I'm assessed $30. But the problem lies in the fact that I could make 3 trips with my small trailer and not pay a cent. But if I want to maximize efficiency, I use a big trailer, I'm charged $30. The volume of material doesn't change, just the way I transport it. And that's where the problem lied in I got told a couple months ago about one situation. And I have to agree with them. It's a little bit difficult. Like I say, you're not charged for a small trailer, but you're charged for a big one. The volume, you could make 2 or 3 or 4 trips with a small one, not be charged anything. You use a big one, you charge $30. So that's where the gentleman had his problem right there.
It certainly makes sense. And the environmental impact, you're using 4 times as much fuel or whatever to make the same number of trips. And
I know, but they don't look at it that way, Richard.
I know the bylaw doesn't. So I guess what I'm saying is, I'm just asking for comments here, and hopefully we can make a simple resolution. So anyone else have a comment?
I just have one comment. I happen to have a 14-foot trailer, but it's only a single axle trailer, and you certainly couldn't put any heavier load on it than you could an 8-foot. You could put longer stuff, but certainly not heavier stuff or more volume. So just strictly going by 12 feet as a cutoff, I don't know if that's a real solution either. It is what it is. You gotta define it somehow, and I'm not going to really stand in the way just because my trailer is a little bit bigger. Just that some long trailers aren't capable of having any more volume than a small trailer.
That's quite correct. And so what if I would suggest then that we take out the trailer portions and have single axle, tandem, and triaxle. And the rest of it is basically, we're simplifying it. We're not penalizing anybody. They're paying for the use of the dump in their taxes. So, and that's exactly where we want the garbage, is at the dump. We don't want it on the roadside. So we just remove anything to do with trailers and just have single axle, tandem, and triaxle. Would council agree?
I just have one comment. I mean, there's some quite large dump trailers out there, almost as big as a single axle.
But
I think dump trailers are designed for heavier volumes and more apt to be a contractor that owns a dump trailer than a private individual. I'm sure there are some private individuals. Go ahead.
Where we run into problems is someone borrows a contractor's trailer and says there's no money changing hands, and there may or may not be. And the big trailer comes in, and you know, we have contractors that are paying for bringing in the same trailer. Just going back in time, the exemption, I mean, we put the tipping fees in just to help encourage good behavior, and it has worked quite well. People, the contractors don't mind paying the fees, they understand. And the exemption, I think, was brought in so that someone cleaning up their yard or somebody doing small work had the ability to come to the dump and still drop things for free. And I think where we're getting some conflict is people that are kind of playing a gray area, and they're borrowing or renting a large trailer and or doing a very large job and bringing in multiple loads. And you know, the contractors are noticing. I think we had someone renovate a house and they brought in about 25 loads in a truck just to get around the fee. We just had a review with the auditor over our tipping fees, and I had to explain that we have a nominal fee to encourage good behavior, because if we compare the municipalities on both sides of us, we are way, way, way lower than they are, which I think is great that we can do that. So it is kind of working. If we have I know that we have a larger trailer come in that only has a part load on it, the attendants take that into account, and they would not charge for it. So they had we look at basically 4x8 or the back of a pickup truck size. Because that's it should be defined, I agree, but that's the size they look at of it. So it's smaller than a pickup truck load. You know, people aren't charged even though they brought a larger trailer in. And the other municipalities beside us look at volume. They've actually got cubic meter or yard tipping fee structures. Just some thoughts.
If I could,
I'd like to make one more point.
Go ahead, Joe.
There seems to be a perception.
Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
There seems to be a perception that it's okay to have the contractors pay, but let's be realistic. The contractor's not taking that money out of his pocket. He's taking the money from the customer, which is the taxpayer. So the taxpayer is incurring the cost, whether it's actually the taxpayer paying it or the contractor paying it. I think the rationale behind these started to curtail contractors bringing garbage that originated outside the township. I'm not with garbage that originates outside the township.
That would have been part of it. The other is to try and help offset some of the shredding costs that we have, and the nominal fee directs some extra payment towards people that are using the dump more than others. So some people, we have residents that may not bring in anything in a year, so that the ones that are bringing stuff in are contributing to reducing that shredding cost. So I guess we thought that was, or council thought that was a fairer way to look at it back then. So the people, you know, that tend to bring a lot of stuff in contribute more than people that don't.
I guess if I may, thanks, Dave. If I may, I don't think anybody's changing shingles on their house just because they don't have to. They're changing them because it's required. So whether it's the contractor or whether it's an individual themselves doing it, as Councillor Florent indicated earlier, the resident is paying in the long run. So by having a charge or no charge, we're not increasing the use for a dump. I guess if we have a huge charge, we're decreasing the use of the dump, but we're encouraging the scattering of it on Crown land all around us. So I just think in regarding, Joe, regarding your 14-foot trailer, if we just took out what I suggested, the small trailer, just took out if it says here on the top line, we just had small taken out of there. If brought in by the resident, there's no charge, so you wouldn't be charged anyway. So, but where we're talking about down below where the commercial contractor is dealing with this, I don't know. I hear Dave's comment, and we're just, and then I also hear the other Dave, Councillor Harper's comment about regardless of whether you bring it in a big trailer or you bring it in 4 or 5 trips, the same amount of shingles are coming in. If it's 60 bundles to do the house or 80 bundles it's the same amount of shingles coming. So, and bottom line is, all of the residents are paying equally for the operation of that landfill site. So I don't know. I just think we should simplify it, and the discretion shouldn't be put on the attendant to make a decision whether somebody gets free on a partial load. We should spell it out clearly so he doesn't have to use that discretion, and it makes it easier for him and is doing his job. Anyway, go ahead. Anyone else have a comment?
I just have a comment, Richard. I agree with what you're saying, and I think the intention when landfill fees came about was less about revenue and more about assisting in the changing of people's mindset around landfills. I think the reason that we put fees on specific items is to either encourage reduction or reuse or whatever that is. So if you want to use the example of shingles, so if you have someone who's on a fixed income who's decided to put, steel on their house and they're never going to put shingles in our landfill, and you're saying that they're paying with their tax dollars the same thing as everyone else, and we have someone else who's putting shingles on their house every 15 years, what you're doing by applying those fees is making the person who's using shingles pay for what they're actually putting in our landfill and saving the person who's putting steel on their roof from having to pay that fee. So I think that's where we've been trying to go with these fees, and the fact that we're giving residents a break over commercial users, I completely agree with you. They're either paying for it in the reconstruction of their roof or they're paying us directly, but giving one a break over the other is creating a loophole that's causing problems for our landfill attendants. So I would say, let's get rid of the contractor versus resident altogether and just say, if you're bringing construction waste, this is the fee associated, this is the size or the weight or whatever it is, and this is what people are going to pay.
Okay.
I think we're making all this effort to make all these loopholes to give people breaks. And every time we change the waste, as we all know, people are very passionate about what they can and can't do at the landfill. So if we could just clearly articulate, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, then there will be discussion in the community, and then everybody will know we're all on the same page, and then we'll go forward in that direction.
Excellent point. And also then maybe we should just have the large trailer or the single axle, the tandem, and the tri-axle. Anything other than that, it just simplifies it. So anyway, should we think about this one, and then when we relook at like I said, we discussed earlier in the spring about commercial pickup and etc. And then maybe deal with it on a discretionary basis at the landfill site for for the next month and a half, because likely won't be too much done later, and then relook at all of this in the winter months. What's your thoughts?
Sure. I think, as Dave had suggested, we're also in the midst of this modernization assessment that KPMG is doing. So I think there are going to be some comparators and maybe some recommendations come out of that as well. So if I would say you can give us some direction today, and then we can further delve into the modification of the bylaw in the months to come.
Yeah, if I can just jump in there, that's why I included the bylaw for the waste management. I think it needs to be reviewed and some revisions made. So if council can have a look at that and make any notes or suggestions and maybe send it to me, and then that way we can look at it and we can bring it back with marked changes and discuss it at a later waste management meeting.
Any comments from council?
I may.
Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with what Holly said, and I completely understand the predicament that the township is in. We do want to encourage good behavior, and we also don't want people taking advantage of these loopholes. And people are very passionate about the disposal sites and their access to them. So as we approach these changes or any potential changes that we consider, it's extremely important, in my opinion, to communicate with the public about changes that are proposed, and if they are confirmed, then to give everybody a transitionary window of time just to remind everybody of the changes upcoming. Similar to how we did with the mattresses, I thought that was done very well. I have one question. Somebody mentioned that somebody was renovating a house and did 25 or 20 trips with the trailer. Do we know if that person had a demolition permit? And is the demolition permit detail clear enough, or can that also be specified further?
I understand they did have a demolition permit, but I don't think there's any information on that demolition permit with respect to tipping fees. But Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're correct, Dave. It doesn't specify anywhere on their tipping fees. They do, when they get an application, they get a copy of the schedule of fees bylaw, which indicates clearly, well, we're looking at it, what the fees are for the landfill site.
Mm-hmm. And is it clear whether, you know, let's say I'm just renovating a bathroom or one section of the house versus, you know, reframing it, for example, is there room to specify further, you know, when that demolition permit applies and when it does not?
So are you talking about tipping fees now, or are we talking about building permits?
Demolition.
Or demolition permits.
Yeah.
So people approach us, and, you know, if they're demoing structural, like big renovations, and yes, the demolition permit is required. However, Dave is really good. Usually people contact me or Dave and ask if they can get into the landfill site. Of course, there's fees on top of that, but they're well aware that as part of the demolition, there is waste management fees.
I think, Bongo, are you asking if someone needs a demolition permit to remodel a bathroom?
Yeah, basically, and yeah, sure.
No, right? No, it would be a structural. It would have to be a structural.
Anything
change.
that has to do with changing plumbing or anything like that, for sure. If you want to, you need to contact me if it's in regards to something, or have the property owner contact me and we can discuss it. But anything to do with structural plumbing, anything like that, if they're just painting or putting in a new, you know, sink or anything, there's no fees. But if they're changing the plumbing or the envelope of the building, so to speak, they need a permit.
And one other question, somebody asked me just the rationale behind charging for a large trailer full of brush, if the brush is not taking up space in the landfill. Just if somebody could just explain that to me.
I guess I can take that one. We have been shredding brush. We do have to send guys up to burn brush. It takes labor and time to do so. Some of the brush comes in very orderly. Some of the brush comes in less than orderly. So we've had people load, particularly the larger things like a large trailer or a tandem or triaxle, they load it with a machine. It's all twisted up, very difficult to burn. It can take some time. I do agree, however, you know, if we're relooking at tipping fees, perhaps brush should have a separate rate. It's not part of, it is kind of part of our shredding. You know, we shred up stumps and things like that. But it doesn't take nearly as much time to go through the machine, and the contractor actually likes to put a bit of brush through the machine because it cleans it up before he has to take it down the road. And then we obviously use it as cover, but I think we should have a discussion about maybe a separate fee for brush, maybe even just the optics of it.
Would it make sense that we discuss this in a timely manner, and then to ensure that when the tax bill goes out in the spring, that we include a flyer like we have in the past for other issues, and that everybody gets the same message? As I think somebody mentioned here earlier, one of the councillors, that we should be informing the public. So if we could agree to discuss this a couple of times to try and get it as correct as possible, and send it out with the taxes, then I think we've accomplished what we're trying to do.
Richard, I would suggest that we send it out with the waste collection calendar. Is that what you mean, as part of the waste collection calendar?
Well, that would be fine, as long as it can get to all of the people. That'd be great. But see, the reason for suggesting that it be included with possibly with the taxes, then everybody gets it. But some that might get the calendar, maybe it's only going to the local people and maybe not getting to all of the residents. But we can discuss that later, likely.
Oh, I can speak to that. The fall winter calendar will be going in a couple of weeks, and it usually just goes in mailboxes. The spring summer one gets mailed with the tax bills. So everyone in the municipality will get it. Cottagers will get the spring one, and by then we should have everything in line with this. We should aim to have everything in line for when they go out.
That's exactly what I'm suggesting. Thank you. Okay, no, just a second here.
Can I add just something to that, Richard, please?
Yes, go ahead, councillors.
We were talking about brush, and brush, possibly there being a fee for brush. What about leaves? We're coming to leaf clear up time and final grass cutting and things like that. Are we proposing to charge for people taking trailer loads of leaves to the dump, for example? Because the other option, I think, is people are going to be dumping them in the lake or dumping them in the river or dumping them along the trails and things like that. I don't know what council thinks about leaves, because we're coming into that situation now.
I can speak to that, Sandra. Leaves and needles are not considered brush. We put them off separately and we use them as cover directly. They're not burnt.
Ah, that's fantastic. Thank you, Dave.
Dave?
Yeah.
If I could ask, it's likely very possible then that we can deal with this in a discretionary manner until we come up with something new.
Sorry, kind of lost the audio there.
I think, I guess what I'm hearing is that you feel that your attendants can deal with any of these issues in a discretionary manner until we come up with something new.
They can, yeah, they have been. I think that they're both pretty good at communicating with the public, have a good relationship.
I haven't had any complaints about any of the attendants. So good, that's good news. Okay, household hazardous waste. Can you update us on, we talked about the numbers in your report, but volume maybe?
They don't have much for volume, so to speak, but yes, we had a successful day, and it was in Whitney this year, and there was 154 households. And next year is going to be a little different as the hazardous and special waste program winds up on June 30th, and what that looks like, I don't know, but we'll cross that road when we get there. I'm sure we'll still be collecting them. It's just going to be taken over under a different agency. So it was good. I saw a lot more from Alien Lake came up this year, which was good to see. Usually they hold on to their stuff till August, but it was nice to see. We had lineups. It was very busy and it was very productive. We had lots of stuff, and it's a great program, and it keeps this stuff at a landfill site. So I just want to let everybody know and it's very well received by the public. Everybody I talked to, they have nothing but great things to say. It's a great day. It was great that you offer this service. So I just want to let our council know that that's the feedback of the public that I'm getting.
I would just like to make a comment. I thought it was extremely organized, well laid out, the parking lot, and the people were moving rapidly. So anyway, thank you to all.
Can I say something? And I know I've mentioned it before, but I think waste engine oil is more of an issue than we're giving it credit for. And I think waste engine oil is being thrown into the landfill on regular trips to the dump with people. And I know for a fact in the landfill at Madawaska, there was a huge, great plastic container full of oil was tipped just straight into the shred pile. I think we should be offering somewhere for waste engine oil more frequently than once a year. I don't know how the oil is managed at the works department, whether or not they could open that up once a month or something. If you've got waste oil, do they have it collected? We do not want to see people draining their oil down from ATVs, mowers, especially because they're not going to store it. It's a fire hazard to store it, and people just want to chuck it out. And as I say, I know for a fact, and that's just one that I've seen over at the landfill, where the oil was thrown, the container was upside down, it was leaking out everywhere.
Any comments? Anyone else?
That's, I can maybe speak to that for a second. So at the Works Garage, we have a company that comes and picks up a drum. It doesn't cost us. I don't know that can be expanded, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy, we get into running a household hazardous waste facility at that point in time if the public was coming and dropping it off. And I'm not sure where the rules sit with that at the moment. We'd probably have to have it manned. And I'm not sure how many containers we could keep there under the WIN number that we have, but we could look into it.
Can I make a comment?
Yes. Go ahead, Councillor.
I probably have more waste oil than most people, and I have no trouble at all storing it until hazardous waste day. It's not a big deal for me.
In speaking with other residents, and that's what they do, is they come in with all these containers. It's been stored over the year. So yeah, it would have to definitely be looked at. Like you said, Joe, people are keeping it for the year, and some have no problem with it, but we can explore that.
Could we, if it's an issue at either or all, both landfill sites, if we encourage people or mention it in the newsletter that to encourage people to keep it for the year and not take it to the landfill area?
I think it's something that needs to be addressed, because it's the last thing in the world we want going into the landfill. There are so many chemicals in the oil and that don't get broken down, particularly, especially the synthetic oils. And we really don't want it in there. So I think it's something we should address, either to encourage people to put it to one side, or even have an area at the landfill where containers of it could be left. We've got metal, we've got other things. Maybe a sort of roped off area where containers of engine oil could be left. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, it's harder than that, just having an area. There's criteria that we would have to go through, and permission we'd have to get to enable, like Dave said, the WIN number to make sure that we can have store material like that at the landfill site.
Our certificate of approval prohibits us from accepting hazardous waste at the landfill sites. That's why it's on the sign out front. That's why we have household hazardous waste day. So we have 2 properties with WIN numbers where we can collect it. And that is the works yard in Whitney and the works yard in Madawaska. And a WIN number means that we can have our household hazardous waste days in those areas. We can collect a bit at the, at the Public Works Department. But speaking to the consultant, both landfill sites are monitored regularly, and they're not seeing that chemistry in our wells. So there might be some getting in there,
That's good
but
to know.
it's not getting in. It's not in the leachate plume, and nothing is showing up in the wells. Our wells are pretty clean. They call it the nasties, the benzenes and the toluenes
Yes.
are not registering.
So would we agree that we're going to put it in and encourage people in our newsletter to keep it until waste hazardous day?
Probably.
I think just a little bit of a nudge in that, a nudge to remind people to do that may well be all that's needed. Let's hope so.
Okay. Any other business someone want to bring up? Well, I guess that's if that's all there is. We'll need somebody to. We need an approver to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Move it. Okay. Seconder.
I'll second it.
Okay. Oh, there we got a full screen now. All in favor? Thank you.
Yes.